Hi everyone, how's it going? Let me just remove the banner. Okay, yeah. Hey everyone. Hello, hello, hello. How's it going? Okay, I see a lot of folks joined in. Um, so I'll wait for a couple of moments before we start. But before we do that, can I see some hi in the chat? How's it going? How hyped are you with the games week? Um, for me, I just gave my final, and I I have started streaming again. So I have some headache, but we are hyped to build the game. Now, this is a part two of a stream that we started yesterday. We're building a game in Unity, and it's very exciting. We made a lot of progress last time, and we will be working more on it. So, we'll be continuing the same game. Before I do that, let me introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Deekshita Verma. I am one of the coaches with Major League Hacking, and I am just graduating from BTech, which is like very, very crazy. I just have one more final to go and I'll be graduated. And I am also going to join Google. I'm an AR/VR creator and I love building games. And apart from that, I am also a makeup artist. I'm not just a tech person, I'm a very creative one. That's a fun fact about me. And I think we're good to go with the introduction. I talked a lot about myself. Make sure that you register and check in here so that we can continue working on the game. I'll wait for a few more folks to join in before we start with the stream. A recap of what we built last time is that we decided to take a terrain, a road, and we took a car model and we were moving the car on the road. So we did the coding to start moving the car as well as basically, you know, just have the functioning of it. So today, what we're going to do is that first of all, our car was falling from the terrain. So that's one of the things that we have to tackle. And after that, we will be adding some barriers, some checkpoints, and more things to our scene. Um, just to recap, our camera was also following the car, but we'll be working more on it today. So while I do that, I am just, adding this to the stream. This is how my Unity project looks like, and I did share the GitHub repo. In case you missed out last time, there's a thread on the Global Hack Week chat for Games Week, which has the repo link for this particular project so that you can tune into it whenever you want to and see the progress, and if you need help with any of the code. Now what I'll do is I'll play the game once. Let me played when I maximize the screen because that'll be better. Maximize on play and the play button. And this is how I've seen looks like right now. So if you see, the car is sinking in inside the road, which is definitely not a great user experience. And after some time, we've lost the car. The terrain looks beautiful and it's a very nice scene, but the car needs to move on the road actually, which it's not doing, and you can step back from the terrain as well and still be flying in the air. So that's not a good impression for a game. And it also can travel through the trees apparently. And I think I've lost the car. I can't find it. Yes, yes, I found it. So there's a lot of inconsistency in the movement. Even though the car is moving fine, it's not traveling across the road, it's not colliding with objects, it's not basically working the way we wanted it to. So what we're going to do is that we'll add certain colliders. Um Please feel free to keep asking questions in between, because this can be a little bit trivial and I don't want you all to get confused. And if you feel like you need hyped up energizers in between and just have a fun chit chat, because it's a 2 hour long stream, I don't want to bore you all. So we'll have fun building the game. Now, the first thing about colliders is it makes physics possible inside a game. So without a collider, without gravity, this is what a game looks like. Since you're not colliding with any of the objects, you can sink in anywhere, and there's no distinction between these two objects. There are a bunch of colliders. Now, the road that we have is basically a terrain, right? So there is a collider called terrain. So I'll click on road, and you can see a lot of road properties. What I'll do is I'll simply go to add component, and I'll add a terrain collider. So what this collider is going to do is it will create boundaries basically. Let's say I have my phone right here, and I have this mug. Without colliders, they will not stop at intersection. They might pass through each other, and when we want to stop them, we want to create a solid boundary around them. That's the job of a collider inside Unity. So now I've added a terrain collider. So what it will do is it will add layers on the roads, and my car will move perfectly fine. But if I have collider on one object and I don't have collider on the other one, the other object is still going to fall because there's no collider over there. We want both of the colliders to create a boundary. Both of them should be physical objects, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to my car and I'll add a collider for it as well. So for car models, there are separate types of colliders that you can have. But the most common collider, which I feel works with everything, is a box collider. Hi, Cavallia. How's it going? So, what I'll do here is I'll go to add component, and I will add a box collider. But we need to edit a box collider according to the shape of whatever object we have. So, what I'm going to do is here you see there's a edit collider option. We'll click on this one, and I'll just zoom in on my car model. So, right now, when you see, there are boundaries. So I have to click on the edit part again, and you can see boundaries of the faces of this cube. So if I move it backwards, this is the boundary of the car from the back. This is the boundary from the front. Now if I want to take it a little higher, because I don't want it to clash with the terrain in general, I just want it just above the plane so that the car moves properly. If I go back, if I go forward, if there's anything which I feel like it should have been edited, I'll just make those changes. Like right now, um, I'll just move it to the exact bumper of the car, and over here a little forward. So I feel like the boundary works well. The car is a little short in height, so I'll just move it downwards. Now this is the boundary of the car. So this will define if I collide with any of the objects. Um, if any object passes through this particular box, through this particular boundary, they should give a collision signal, or there are things which you'll be, which we'll work on a little later. So you'll get to know about that then. But basically, we are creating a boundary around side the car that we have. So we've created the box collider. Now, if you remember in the last stream, we actually removed gravity from the car. So I'm going to add the gravity once again, because now we have the collider. So we don't have the risk of the car falling from the terrain. And let's try to play it and see once again if this works. Okay, so now you see that the car is directly on the road and it is not falling off. It's moving really well, definitely smooth. And of course, I had to create an accident. So probably the colliders are not that perfectly placed, because of which, okay, definitely not moving the way we wanted it to. So I see some questions in the chat. Hi, where did you get the Unity game assets resources? Okay, so I think you did not attend the last stream. I'll just, give you an idea of how to do that. There's something called as asset store in Unity. Now, I do create my own assets sometimes, but it's a little time consuming if it's a practice project. If I'm working as a freelancer or I'm building for a commercial project, I have to create my own assets. But if it's just a game for a hackathon or any other practice project, I just go to asset store and I would search for, let's say, car. So if I do that, I find a lot of assets, and because it's going to be a practice project, I'll obviously not pay for it, so I'll go to the free assets. I mean, of course, if you want to, you can pay for those assets, but that's not something which I would prefer. So I'll just scroll down, pick out whichever car I want, and add it to my project. Can you share the GitHub link for the Unity game video project? Yes, of course. I did actually add it to the chat as well for the Global Hack Week in the Games Week channel, but I'll share it here as well. For some reason, this terrain feels so nostalgic. I know, right? Like, I just had the instinct of creating it, but it's there is something. So let me open GitHub alongside and share the link of the project with you all. Okay. So you will be hearing a lot of construction noises in the background. I've tried to add as much noise cancellation in my mic as possible, but there is a house building on the adjacent side of my house, so I can't do anything about it. There's a lot of construction noise, but this is the repo link. I'm just adding it in the chat for everyone. All right, let us go back to the terrain. Can you give us okay? Hi, can you give us an overview about the Unity video game project adapted folder tree? I did not really understand what do you mean by that. Okay. If you want me to give you a basic overview of what we went through and what we built yesterday, I'll just do that once again, and then we'll move forward with it. So first of all, for any Unity project, what we build is the project folder. Got it. So in the project folder, we have the assets. That is the major part of it. We are not going to work with the packages. Those are something that we just install. We don't make changes in them. If you go to the project folder, inside the assets, you first have your car model. This is the car which I installed using the asset store. Then this is the road model. So they have some free assets, some meshes. What we used was a prefab. We used one of the prefabs and named it as roads here. And then we have scenes. So we just have one scene, which is the game scene that we're working on right now. Basically, a scene is like what you're going to represent. Let's say I have 7 levels. 7 levels have different environments. So I've created 7 different scenes and I've integrated them together. So this is one of the scenes that we are building for the game. And then we have World Skies. So World Skies is again another asset that we took from the asset store. It is basically the skybox. The sky environment that you see right now is a skybox, and it has been again taken from the Unity asset store. So this was just a basic setup. And what we did in the last stream was that we created a script called player movement. Let me open VS Code and show this script as well. Yeah. So we created a script called player movement. Within player movement, we defined a speed for the move and a speed for turn. And what we did was that for move, whenever we get an input from the vertical axis, that is from the upward and the downward key or the W and S keys, what you have to do is make sure that you apply a force on our car to move forward. And then you have again input dot axis from horizontal, which is the right or left key or your A or D key. If you have worked on any of the RPG games, you might be familiar with the WASD keys. So whenever we get an input from the horizontal axis, what we have to do is that we have to calculate a turn of the angle that we want the car to move, and then apply force in that particular direction. I hope that makes sense. Um, After that movement, what we've done is that we've created another script called camera movement. So whenever my car moves, what I want is that the whenever my car moves, what I want is the camera to move alongside in the same angle. Now, this is something which we have to work on. First of all, within my car model, in the how do you proceed to install and or import external resources? That's a very good question. So let's say okay, so let's say I have my assets folder, and there is an external package that I need to install. Simply go to assets, import package, and install that package that you download from the web. If there is any asset that you need to install, there's an import asset option. If there's something which you're taking directly from the Unity asset store, all you need to do is select that particular car. You'll have to claim this one, and then you'll get an option to open it in Unity. So that's how you install something from the asset store. If it's anything which you've downloaded from GitHub, all you have to do is import it. Do not copy paste it. It will not take all the features or all the properties that you want. Okay, we do have another question. uh, what are the used add-ons, plugins, and or API libraries for this project? Currently, there are no add-ons. We've just installed 3 assets directly from the asset store, and then we are working on this scene where we've created a basic script based on the input to move this car forward and backward and right and left. And that's it. That's all we've done in the past stream. So currently for the car model, I'll reduce the size of collider a bit, because the moment it collided from the sides, it bounced back, which we don't want. So I'll reduce the size of the collider. My main objective of the collider is that the car should not fall down from the road. So that's the main thing that we have to keep in mind. For the corners and the boundaries, we will be adding more things. So I think that'll be good. Okay. So I'll just save this once again. And now I'll show the camera issue that we were going through. So let's say I move my car forward. Currently, we also have to add motion to the wheels. Now let's move a little forward in the scene because this terrain is a little slanted. So what we were doing is that we were just changing the position of the z-axis, right? Now with the change in position of z-axis, our camera is moving alongside with the car, but since the terrain is going slantly upwards, our camera is not doing that. And let's say when I move right or left, I want my camera to move right and left too, just to add to the scene. So what we're going to do is, I'll just stop this, and I will go to my camera script. So currently in camera moment, we were just creating a difference for the Z position. What I am going to do right now is I'll create a difference for all the positions and then add it to the final change in position. So what we do is we'll have different underscore just diff x, and I'll just copy that and duplicate it. This would be difference for the y-axis and difference for the z-axis. So difference of x is going to be our position dot x minus transform dot position dot x, and then we'll have similarly, just copy this line. Now what we're going to do is difference in y, difference in z, z, y. This will now become diff z, and now we'll be using this same for x and y. So now our entire camera position will move with the car. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll just see if there are any questions in the chat. Hi, what are the add-on plugins and or APIs library deployed via the VS Code ID in order to open, read, etc. code the program? So I haven't added anything over here. Generally with Unity, Visual Studio works, not the Visual Studio Code. Like obviously you can use VS Code, and then you might want to install a C Sharp plugin or let's say extensions for C Sharp if you want, because we are coding here in C Sharp. For me, I think I've been coding for quite some while, so I'm just very used to um, typing without the line completions or anything. So I haven't added any add-ons as far as I remember. This is actually the first time that I'm using VS Code for Unity, because my normal Visual Studio wasn't working in the stream yesterday. I hope that answers your question. Let's go back. Hi, do you have a link to yesterday's stream? Yes, I do. What we can do is you can go to twitch.tv/MLH and find it over there, or you can directly head on to YouTube. I'll just, I think the YouTube link might be more handy to me. I'll just find that and send here in the chat itself. Let me see. Give me one moment. I will just, add the link in the chat and then continue. Build a game from scratch in a day. Let me find that. Surprisingly, I can't find that particular stream. Yeah, got it. I will just copy the link and share it in the chat for you all. Okay. Do you have any resources to improve the programming skills in order to write a better clean code? I think that comes mostly with practice. I don't have any specific resources for that. Just make sure that when you're trying to read someone else's code, they're able to understand. Obviously, commenting and other things make it easier. Kindly, I haven't added a lot of comments in my code because I was streaming alongside. When will the car run? ah, let's see. Let's, increase the speed of the car and see if it can run. I'll just keep it 20 for now. And move the car. And let's say, let's check if our camera is moving alongside. Nope. The camera is definitely flying alongside with the car. Let me see what went wrong with that. Okay. I had to do difference in Y and difference in Z. Yep, that was definitely the issue. Um, I think you can find all of those links on globalhackweek.mlh.io/challenges. I'll share that link with you. And yeah, I think this is working much better. I hope by run your car is running. Sorry, I'm just having some tea alongside. Apparently, it's a little cold in May, which is not something that happens in Delhi's weather, but Delhi is playing with us. Okay, the speed is kind of slow. We can definitely increase it. And we can also keep an option for the user to select the speed. That'll be fun. So, right now, if you see, when we are rotating alongside, the camera is not at the best position. So, we might want to rotate along with the car as well to make it even a better experience. We'll probably do that later. It'll be very same as the movement code. That'll be something which we can add as an improvement later on. Okay, so for now, uh, I'll share the dev post link that you can find all the uh, globalhackweek.mls.io/challenges link so that you can find all the challenges and find the dev post link for yourself. Let me see. Yep, here are the feature challenges. Just sharing the link here in the chat for you all. All right. So now we have a car which is moving, rotating very well. The rotation will just be in the y axis. So, what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to, um, or you know what, I'll just add the rotation later on. It'll be just a lot of code and not that much of a significance. Now, we can add checkpoints, we can add different features that makes the game in turn into a level, turn something interesting. So let's find road barriers that we can collect. How do I find pre-recorded streams on twitch.tv/mlh? Um, I think you can find the previous streams over there. If I just open it right now, there'll be an echo. So I can find that link and share it in the thread on Discord that we have for the particular building a game from scratch in Unity. I think that will work. Or if someone else in the chat can help them find, that'll be great. Do you plan to add a chronometer timer code folder for the Unity video game project? I haven't thought of adding it, but we can definitely see what we can do. What I'm thinking right now is to add certain boosters that will increase the speed. So let's go to the asset store and find road assets. I'll first of all click on the free assets part. So you even can get city packs and different city scenarios, which you can use instead of the terrain. Um, we definitely have certain vehicle parking or the road signs. So what we can do is this particular fence can be one of the barriers in our project, that when you cross this barrier you probably lose a life or your speed gets decreased. Let me go and find some more things related to road. I'll just search road and might find more assets. Let's click on free assets. So you can find road blockers. There are US road signs. There are old road signs as well. We can definitely use them as barriers in a project. Um, what I'm thinking of right now is to add a booster and explain collision. So let me search on for a booster. Go to free assets. Some game booster or a graphic sort of an element. We could even create our own particles, but that'll be complicated, so I want it more beginner friendly. That is why I'm searching it directly from Unity, the asset store. Okay, definitely not something that we're looking for. Boost. Let's search like that and go to free assets once again. Okay, I'll search for a speed sign. uh, and I might play some music in the background as well. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to, stop me in between. Agree. So we definitely have some speed signs. I need a kind of like a speed boost. I don't know, something which looks that, hey, if you uh kind of hit this particular object or collide with them, you'll get a speed boost. Hey, I'm not sure if I'm going to add a collateral damage counter. I'm not really sure what do you mean by that, but we'll be building as I haven't planned everything beforehand. We're just exploring and building together. So that's the whole idea right now. I think the music is lagging for me. I'll just pause it. It might be lagging because asset store is also not the fastest thing that you'll find. Okay, amazing question. How do you manage the Unity video game project UI? We will be making the UI together, so you'll get to see how I do that. But that's the whole plan. Yeah, we will be building the UI. It's very simple to build UI in Unity. That's honestly what I feel. But yeah, if you're someone who wants creative and very um, fun ideas, you can work alongside. I cannot find a good boost element. So let me just click on 3D and see if I can find something fun. So if we don't end up figuring out what we want for the boost, what I'll do is I'll add, um, let's say, a sphere or a rectangle, and we'll just collide with them, figure out the logic, and then find a graphic to change for that. I don't know. There's this kind of a mode kind of thing which is called in for cars, which gives them like that power speed something. I don't know. I'm just searching if I can find something like a car boost element kind of. Okay. Um, I'm still not able to figure that out. So what we'll do is that we will add a small 3D object. Let's make it a capsule. Okay, I'll just move it somewhere here, randomly anywhere, and we'll zoom in on it, move it a little upwards, probably rotate it a bit, and yeah, this is how the capsule looks like. We could literally download a capsule asset, a two-toned capsule, but okay. Now I know what I want to add. So this is the capsule. Let's give it a particular color. Um, okay, I'll actually explain one more concept through this. Just pattern image. That's what I want to search. And let's say you have a pattern idea in mind and you want to apply it as a color on an object. How do you do that? So we see this creative pattern, right? I will um, save this image, download it probably directly to my project. So let me see this PC. We have the project named as cars, and inside the assets here, uh, we'll name it as capsule pattern. So we have the image with us. I'll go to Unity. It will load up take a minute to load. Now we have this image. I want it to be the pattern or the material of my capsule. I'll simply go to the texture type, click it as sprite, and apply. So if we want to use any image on something or add it even in our UI, we need to make it sprite. That's the texture type that you need. So now we have the texture. I will create a material, name it as my capsule. Now here I'll drag this image and drop it here. So I have a material ready. I just have to apply it to the capsule. So I'll go and transfer it here. So we have this colored capsule, which is going to be our boost for the car speed. Now again, we have a collider inside the capsule. What I'm going to do is I will make it is trigger. What is trigger does is that you will have a collision, but it's not like your car will stop there. It will pass through it, but it will determine that there's a collision. So whenever there are any elements inside your game that are going to add for some boost, or you have to collect them, but you don't want your object to stop right there, or you don't want your player to get stuck, that's where you add a trigger for the collision. Okay, we have some questions in the chat. Does MLS community have a Unity marketplace account via its platform in order to view the available assets? No, it doesn't. But if you go to the Unity asset store, there are so many assets available for free. And if you have a student ID, I think you can claim a Unity student pack and earn some more assets for free. I am sorry, there are certain construction noises in my background. Hi, I'm from India. Can you clarify the role and the function of the use of capsule installed in the Unity project? So, what I'm going to do is that my car, whenever it passes through this capsule, its speed will increase by 5. So, we are giving it a speed boost. That's what this particular capsule is doing. So, what I'm going to do is now we need to add this logic inside our code. So I will go to my car's player movement script. I'll just go to the script in VS Code. It's going to open Visual Studio and that will create an error. I'll just simply go to VS Code. Inside my player movement script, I'll add a function called on trigger enter. Now again, because there's no code completion right here, because I don't have the C sharp extensions, I'll have to write it myself. Let me just go to the Unity documentation and find exactly what we write in the on trigger enter function. This is the documentation that I've just opened. I am going to close Visual Studio because it will not work right now. Okay. So here, whenever you have any confusion in what to code in Unity, just go to the documentation and find an example. So for on trigger enter, you have to create a collider and name it other, or you can name it anything. So I'll go type collider and name it other. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I need to check the type of this collider. So let's say I have a lot of boost elements and this is my speed boost. I'll go to my capsule. Here in the tag option, I will add a new tag for it and make it my speed boost. So now I'm assigning the speed boost tag to it. So what I'm going to check is if the tag of this particular collider is speed boost. If yes, increase the speed by 5. Okay. So what we're going to do is if other, now this is a collider. So I'll have to get access to their game object and check for their tag double equal to, I hope I'm writing the code correctly. What will happen over here is that the move speed plus equals to 5f. So the move speed should increase by 5. Let's see if we've written the right naming convention and this code works. If not, we will obviously get an error. Collider does not contain a definition for game object. So I'm just gonna simply search Collider game object reference. Just give me 1 second, folks. I'm just searching for how to check the tag from the Collider. Okay, what I did was I added the wrong naming convention. So all I had to do was other dot game object and it should work. Let me check if it does and if there is no error. Yeah, there's no error now. Um, okay, we have some questions in the chat. I'll just go through them in a minute. So now what's gonna happen is, okay, did I not collide? Let me collide with the capsule. I think the capsule's height is a little taller. What we'll have to do is I'll remove the maximize on play so that I can check that the speed is increasing. I'll click on my car model so that we have the speed right here. Now we'll play again. Yeah. See, even if we are able to collide, the speed is not increasing. And the car fell down. Nice. So what I'm gonna do is I will move the capsule a little lower and see if it works now. If it doesn't, then there's certainly an issue in the code. So we'll figure that out. Now I'll simply go over here, collide with the capsule, and see if the speed has increased. It hasn't. Okay. I'll click on the car model once again, go back to the capsule, try to collide with it again. I'm not sure what's happening because the speed is definitely not increasing. Okay. We'll go back to the script. We have 20f right now. And I've added a plus equal to 5. Let's say instead of plus equal to, I just reassign it as 45f and see if it works. Or it could be one thing that our box collider does not trigger with elements. Um, our car, wait a second. Okay, I will have to add a barrier over there. So let's say I move a little bit to the left. I collide with the capsule. Now, what's happening is that the trigger of the car is not activated, right? However, the capsule is getting triggered, so we should have added that in the capsule strip. Or what we can do is, let's for a second click on is trigger, so our car will fall down. This is not something that we can work with. What I can do is that inside my capsule I can add the trigger code, but I'm not sure if that should work. So let's see if it does. We will debug and see what's wrong. So I'm gonna debug and print the tag of whatever element it's triggering with. In case there is no tag, then it's a problem, and in case there is no indication of trigger whatsoever, that's another problem for us. So we will collide with the capsule and see, we don't have anything in the console log. There's nothing that is getting displayed, which means there is no trigger right now. Okay, so we will go to the Unity script once again. Uh, Instead of trigger, let's search for on collision enter. Enter Unity. So if we do on collision enter, let's go back to our script. Try to see if that works. Now instead of collider, you'll get a collision over here. So if we are talking about a collision, then it will definitely have another way of accessing the tag. So we'll search tag from collision in Unity and see how we do that. So we can check for the name or we can check for the tag of the collision as well. So this should work. Let's go back to Unity, see if we have any errors. Yes, we do. Debug.log does not contain. Right. And now let's get back to Unity and see if our errors are gone. Okay. Yep, I can see all the errors gone. I will click over here and start playing with the game. Now let's try to collide. I think the collision is still not working. What I'll do is I'll remove the collision, the is trigger part from the capsule, save it, and now collide with the capsule. Wow. So we did have quite a collision with the capsule. Let's go to our console window and see if we have anything on the console log. I'm surprised there's nothing for the console over here. And let's see, did our speed change? Even that didn't. There's definitely something wrong with collision detection. So let's check what's wrong over there. Now, meanwhile, I do that, let me see more questions and answer them first of all. There are a lot of questions. How do you handle the implementation of mirror in a video game? Car external mirror, what are the best practices or tricks for the graphic conception? So, there are certain things called as shaders. When you add a mirror for a material like that, you also add different shaders. Let's go to the capsule material right now. So it's not metallic at the moment. If I turn it metallic, the reflections are different over here. Right, currently it looks like this. I can make it more smooth. I can change the color. I can definitely play with the values. So the kind of rendering it does, um, currently it's a reflective material. If I deselect that, there will not be any reflections on it. So there are a lot of things that you can play with in a shader. Currently it's a standard shader. You can find hard surfaces, you can find different surfaces over here. Let's say you want to find a nature, so terrain, tree, different kind of surfaces can be applied as shaders over here. We have unlit, something like color if you want a transparent object over it. So that's how you play with the uh, surfaces and apply different shaders and make it mirror like. I think that was what I answered. uh, how do you proceed in order to manipulate the lights and shadows reflections in a video game? Again, shaders and the skybox that we'll be playing with. What are the adapted setup parameters for a first hand on Unity video game project? Uh, there are no specific parameters, but generally most of the games try to bring somewhat a similar experience for gamers because that's what they're used to working in. So whenever you're building, let's say RPG games, so each RPG games will be showing you a set of hands which have different different guns and shooting material, and that's how you play alongside with it. Similarly, if I talk about endless runner games, most of them are very similar to Subway Surfers or Temple Run because that's the basic like go to game for everyone. uh, I think that's what we are talking about. If you mean the setup for building a project, the setup of your PC or something like that, for Unity even 8 GB RAM works. I think I answered most of your questions. Let's figure out what's wrong with collision. Okay. I think I know what's wrong. No collisions are getting detected, and there is one particular setting inside projects which will help me with it because I remember facing this issue before. I'll go to project settings. Let us find that. Uh, the collisions are fine. Like the settings are fine. Let's just search collisions not getting detected. I've searched this before. One of the objects has a rigid body, so that's working fine. Make sure that rigid body is not set to kinematic. It is set on the same transform as the collider, yes. Layers aren't ignoring each other. Edit project settings physics. None of the layers are even ignoring each other. Outer UI default. I think this matrix is fine. On collision enter is for 3D physics. That's what we are applying. Uh, the collision is quick more often. Am I checking for the tag? Yes, I am checking. Uh, every setting looks fine to me. I am not sure why the collision detection is not working. Let's check on Stack Overflow once again. Hi, I wonder about this Unity video game car project uses cases and potential scenario. Is it a car drive game, city driven, or maybe car? So currently, the idea that I had in mind is to just make it a simple driving game across to the train, because that gives it a versatility for people to change it to their features. Obviously, I'm not building a game to the end where I put it to production level. I'm teaching how we make such kind of games, like following along with you all, so that you can build a creative aspect to it and then expand it further on. This is definitely something I might expand later on in future. Currently, I'm just giving an idea of how Unity works, what are the basics, and alongside build like a fun basic game. I hope that answers your question. Okay, on collision enter. At least one of the game objects need to have a rigid body. Um, do we have is kinematic on for our car? Nope. It has a rigid body. There is no kinematic option over here. Let's add a rigid body to our capsule also for just to be sure, and try to collide with it once again. So I will, yes, the rigid body is working now. Why am I not able to hit it? So even if I did hit the capsule, it's moving forward. Let's see if we did get something printed in the console. No, there's nothing over the console. I am not sure why this is not working. It should be working perfectly fine. Let's go to our capsule and first of all, remove the rigid body from here and try to see if something else is wrong. Missing tag. The tag is there. Even without the tag, I can't see anything here in the. Let's just print collision and save it. Let's go back to Unity and save the game once again. Player movement dot rigid body heights inherited member component dot rigid body. Okay, we'll see about that. But the main purpose is to first have my collision detected. I'm definitely colliding with the capsule. Is it something to do with the box collider? I don't think so. But there's nothing in the debug log or nothing is getting printed here. And if I check my hierarchy and I check the game, the speed remains the same. Hi, how's it going? I'm sorry if I went a little too silent. I was in the debugging mode. Basically, we're figuring out why collisions are not working. They should be working really well, but I have followed all the steps of collisions. But for some reason, our car is not able to collide with the capsule. And what we want is that on colliding it with the capsule, we will be getting a boost in the speed. So what I'll do is I'll just check with the capsule collider. The capsule collider is absolutely in the perfect shape. Let's go to the car and check for the collider. What I'll do is I'll probably move this part of the collider a little forward and see if that works. Probably because of the shape of the collider, we are not able to detect the collision well. So let's simply move towards the capsule and see if our collision gets detected now. Okay, so we are definitely colliding right now. And let's see in the console window. I don't see anything printed. And if I check with the speed, there is no change. Let's play it once again, folks, and see if this works. If it doesn't, we'll probably do something else for now and figure this part for the last stream that we have tomorrow. Okay, definitely not working and creating problems now. So I'll go to the car and just press Ctrl Z and reduce the size of the collider once again. I think this is the size that we had initially, and it is good for now. I'll make it a, a rigid body. I'll make the capsule a rigid body, remove gravity from it, and keep a trigger on, and again make it on trigger enter. Check for the tag for it to be something called as speed boost. What did we make the tag as? Speed boost, yeah. And I will also print the tag of this particular element just to check if we are colliding with the right one. And it should be a collider over here as the input. Okay, let's go back, press play, hoping this works now. If it doesn't, we'll add another element and see if we can do something else in the game for now. Okay, the trigger part should work because we are crossing through. But if I go to my console window, I don't see anything being printed so far. So I'm assuming there's nothing on the debug side to it. What I'll do is I'll just, to be sure if my debug window is working fine, I'll just print a message over here, named message, to check if the debug window works. Now we'll again click on play. So my debug window is working because I can see a message over here. What I'm going to do is I'll go to my capsule. I'll just make a new script for collision detection. So probably what is happening is that since my player is not the one which is getting triggered, it's the capsule which has the trigger on. Probably by adding the function over here, it would work. So I simply have to add a private void on trigger enter, which has a collider called other. Now if other dot game object dot, let's do the compare tag function directly, or let's just check with the tag. Now the capsule will collide with the player, so I'm writing player over here. What we'll do is we will uh, take reference to our player, which I'll be adding. Let's see if I can dot game object dot, inside their script they have this move speed. I don't think that's something we can directly get use of. I'll just click have player dot move speed equals 45 f, and I will declare a public I want a reference to the player movement script, right? So I'll declare a public player movement called player. And inside this particular script, I am going to remove this. Save it once again. I'll take reference to the player movement script from the car model, drag and drop. Whenever we need a reference, we just drag and drop it inside the inspector. Save it once again. Try to play it and see if it works. Inside the console window, I definitely have to remove that. The speed did not increase even now. Okay. Um, Inside my collision detection script, did we use the print function or the debug.log? Let's use the print function here and make it other dot game object dot tag. We haven't actually added the tag on our car, which kind of can be an issue. So I'll go to the car model, and inside the tags option, I'll give it a player tag. Save it, and again try to play it once again. So now that I go back, if I collide with this capsule, I can't see the message. I don't even think the speed has increased. Nope, it did not increase. I don't know what's wrong with this one. Oof, okay, let's go back to our script. In the moment, let's remove this message part. Save this one. Over here, we are printing the tag. So what's happening is that there is definitely no trigger. Otherwise, we would have seen this message that hey, there was a collision that happened. So what's wrong with the script is that the collision is not getting detected. If encounter of the layer of both game objects are checked inside, I think everything is in order with the settings. Hi, Dev Abdul Rahman. I think I pronounced your name right. How's it going? Can we add the reinforcement learning model as a module in the program code folder for this game? That's a great idea. Can you explain more on what do you want the module to have? I can definitely add that. So we have this collision matrix. I don't know if this should work, but it's not working. Hey Nishit, how's it going? Okay, so the collision part is definitely not working. What we'll do is we'll first of all change the um, access part with the camera. So let's go to our camera script. In the camera movement, we also now need the rotation of the y-axis. So rotate camera with player. Let's find if we can directly find some code to include. Just coming from college watching this stream, what are you making this? So basically we are making a game in Unity. It's like not a defined scope. What I'm doing is that the car is moving across the road, we are colliding with different objects, which gives us speed boost, and could be like our flag points or our checkpoints for the levels. So I am stuck at the collision part. It is somehow like all the settings are perfectly right, but it's still creating an issue, so I'm trying to debug that. uh, yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. So I think if we add this particular part of looking at the player position, that would work. So let's just do that, and instead of player position, We do. It's C sharp. Preposition. It's very, very similar to C++. Basically, we have classes and that's what we are coding, and Unity compiles them all together. I think the look at part would work. Let's see if it does. At least something should work. Okay. Let me move back to the Unity scene. What we look at is definitely not at the perfect angle. Let's try to turn. Okay. Definitely did not plan to fall. I think there's something wrong with collisions over here. I am not able to figure that out, but it should have worked really, really well. Let me just move the collider a bit to the left as well. Click on Edit Collider. Increase the size of the collider to make sure it doesn't fall down, and remove the is trigger part and then save it. Capsule should have trigger, not the car. Build an AI agent for the Unity video game car in order to study the gamer behavior and car driven path. I think that's something very complicated. I'll definitely keep it in my to do list to work on it someday. So I think it's working fine for now. It's moving well with the car. At this part where we have to turn, I want the um, camera to change its angles a bit. So that's something we have to work on. But for now, let's just remove this. And I'll probably restart the project because I'm not sure the collision code is fine, and it should work really well. Both rigid bodies on both are non-kinematic. The rigid bodies on both my models are non-kinematic. I mean, there is nothing wrong that I can see over here, but still the collision is not working, which is not something that I've seen before. Let's search once again on trigger, enter Unity. Does that work? We'll see if Stack Overflow can help us today. Okay, let's open this. Let's open another Stack Overflow article. One of them has these trigger property checked. One of them is a rigid body. Check the layers, not tags on your objects to edit layers. Collide with each other. You can see edit project settings. By default, Unity sets all layers to collide with all layers. That's a good works by default setup, but you may want to play with it to optimize later on. Inclusion. I mean, I am following all the steps. And there's still on trigger enter needs a collider. Yes, my on trigger enter has a collider. The settings are all perfectly fine. Okay, what we'll do is I think we just have half an hour more to go, so I won't take a break in between. Um, I'll find out what's wrong. Now, even over here, the minute there's a collision, we will have something to work with. There's a non-trigger enter. You print something. I'll just print trigger detected. And the settings are fine inside Unity. We have a tag, it's a default layer. We have a car model, again, it's a default layer. There's a player added to it, and it should be working. There is nothing absolutely wrong in them. Inside the capsule, the basic rigid body. Inside the car model, the rigid body is basic. Capsule collider, that's working fine, has a perfect shape. Box collider has a perfect shape. Let's play it once again. Let's see if magic happens. See, I don't know what's wrong with this, but at this point, you should have seen a message. Basically, at this point, after this, my game object should have been destroyed, but currently, we can't even find what's wrong over here. Okay, over here, we had another Stack Overflow article, right? Is there something new over there which will help us debug it? Enabled is trigger in the enemy the body. I'm trying to call the method on. Yes, I did that as well. It's still not working. On trigger enter has a collider. It's a private function. It has a collider. Let's do something like void on collision enter. Am I writing the spelling of the function, the naming convention, right? Oh my god. Please, that cannot happen. So, what I did was that the function that we have for trigger in Unity has a capital O, and I was using a small o, and that might have been the issue all along. Okay, literally have to pity myself now, but the speed increased. We have a speed boost, and the trigger happened. Wow. I seriously, that's what was wrong. Just one spelling mistake, folks. One spelling mistake. It took me 1 hour to debug. So, what I'm going to do with this game now is that I will fix the camera position in the next stream, which will be the last stream of the series. The speed boosters, I'll add it. Wow, okay. Our car is destroyed. Now, what we'll do is we'll add different barriers and speed boosters. So, just to get you up to speed in the next stream, I'll already add it on the road. Similar to how we added this capsule, we'll be placing similar things at separate places. Now, one thing which I'll explain before I end this stream is that this capsule is going to be my speed booster, right? So we'll name it speed booster, and I will make an object called an empty object. So empty object is sometimes used to just make your scene look more cohesive, probably layer it out, and uh, it's I use it like a parent object. So I'll tell you what a parent object is. First of all, whenever I add an object and I need it reset to the 000 position, I just click on the three dots on transform, reset it, and I'll make it a booster parent. So this is my parent object. This will contain all my speed boosters. There are going to be several boosters in the entire scene. What I want is it should not look difficult here, and any other developer should understand it. So in order to make it more neat, I'll add every speed booster inside, and I can, just click on this arrow, expand it, click on the arrow again, remove it. Yeah, so basically minimize it. So it will not make it more complicated. It will be a very organized manner. Now I have added several properties to this speed booster. So in the last stream we discussed something called as a prefab. What I'll do is I'll drag this speed booster, move it to my projects. Now every setting, uh, starting from the collision detection, from the script to everything, is now a prefab. So if I want to add the speed booster once again, but I don't want to edit its shape, position, material. I don't want to make a new capsule and keep doing that again and again. And it might be that I need this speed booster in several other scenes. So I've made a prefab of it. Every setting is saved already. All I have to do is drag and drop it in the scene once again. So now I have two speed boosters in my scene. I hope that makes sense. Now this is how the other speed booster looks like. Now one thing we have to keep in mind is because we added a real time player moment, it's not added on the script. We'll have to drag and drop it again and again. I'll suggest a different alternative for it so that we don't have to do this every time. What I'm going to do is I'll remove this speed booster, save it. Now go inside my script. On my collision detection script, here I'll create a start function. Now start function is called immediately when an object is activated. This is the first function which is invoked by Unity by itself. At this function, what I'll do is player equals get component, find player movement script inside the scene, and just get it. This is what this means. So I'll click on my speed booster and I will click none over here. So currently we don't have anything attached to our player. So let's see if it can get the reference by itself. The name player does not exist in the current context. Okay, it should be small p. Casing has created a major issue today in the stream. So what I'm gonna do is I'll play this again. Now I'll simply click on the speed booster. When I scroll down, it hasn't detected a player movement yet, or it's probably not visible. Let's just go ahead. Yeah, there's no reference set to it. So we need to find a reference. Now the thing is that this particular speed will be used by several scripts, several objects at the same time. So what I'm going to do is, in order to make it more easier, I will make it a static element. I think it should be small pacing. Static elements are always public anyway. Let's see if we yep. Now I'll go to my collision detection script. I don't need a reference to player anymore. I don't need the start function. All I have to do is directly refer it from the script's name, because I have a static element over there which is going to be used by every script. Let's go back to Unity, see if we have any errors. Object reference not set to an object. Let's see which object is not have reference. Clear it. Yep, there are no issues. Let's see if this is working now. Scroll down in the inspector once again. There is but the speed has been increased. Now you don't need a reference to your player speed, player movement script, but your speed will be increased because we've created it as a static variable because it's going to be used by a lot of scripts. So that's something that will work for us. Now, what we have to do for the next script is, first of all, work on the camera rotation. Secondly, I will fix this part where the car bounces anywhere. The car has a very amazing reflex when it flashes. You know what? Let's go to the car model. Inside the constraints, we don't want it to rotate in the x and the z axis, and it shouldn't be moving in the y axis, right? Let's try this. We freezed its positions in these particular axes, and let's try to. Okay, no. The Y freezing will not work. The car will sink in. So we can only freeze the rotation so that the car does not, bounce over somewhere. Yeah. So the car is not rotating or moving around in the air. This is probably a little better experience. All we have to do is, first of all, fix the camera angle now. In the next stream, I'll add several objects, several barriers, and we'll code what each barrier will do for us. We will include checkpoints, and in the end add a UI and some sound effects tomorrow. So it's, these are very small tiny things, but this will be the finishing touch for the game. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining in. Feel free to ask any questions, and let's hope I don't make any spelling errors tomorrow or any casing errors, which gives me 1 hour of debugging. Feel free to ask any questions. I am here hanging around for like a couple more minutes, and I'll see you in the final stream of this series tomorrow. And I'm excited to see what you all build. I'll update this code on GitHub and add a readme file for sure. I think I forgot to add that yesterday. I'll add a readme file so that you can understand what each code element means. So yeah, we have a couple of things changed over here. We'll commit it as global heartbeat stream 2 and commit it to main. So we have the changes on the uh, GitHub repo now. Make sure that you've registered and checked in for today's link for the stream that you attended just now, so that you can claim some points and receive swags in the end. Thank you so much for joining, folks. I hope this was helpful. Um, Feel free to ask any questions if you want to. Otherwise, that's it for today. Thank you. Play some music in the background and definitely stop sharing my screen.